Hi, my name is Nathan Ridgway, and today we'll be working on this gasket drawing. It should be fairly simple. If you see here, we kind of have instructions on a step-by-step on how to do this. So this video might not be necessary, but I thought we could go through it just in case there was something that someone's having problems with. So first thing we want to do is we want to get our title block A. Though there is no scale on here, since the scales we do have is being 3.0 and 2.0, this is very small, so this is probably going to be a 1-to-1 scale. So probably don't need to make any changes. 10 by 7.5 is what we want. So clear these out. I'm going to see if I can split these drawings. I don't think I'll be able to. Does not look like it, so we'll have to go back and forth. That's fine. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're simply going to follow these instructions and see how far that we get. First thing we have to do is edit our title block. So I'm going to left click it, right click, and then mText edit. And then that allows me to put in the name of this drawing, like so. So let's start following our instructions here. Now on construction layer, so that's specifically construction, draw a rectangle 3 horizontal by 2 vertical. Easy enough. So right now we're on the text layer. I want to change to the construction layer. Now often we draw on the object layer, but this specifically is construction. Then we'll go over here. Now there's two ways we can do this. One, we could just do the rectangle tool. That's probably the easiest way. There's also the line tool we can use over here, but we'll do the rectangle tool just to keep it simple. Alright, so if you remember, it was 2 by 3, so 3 horizontal, 2 vertical. So first we have to click to specify the first position, and then we can see on these dotted lines which is which, and we can tab to go in between the two. So we want 3 down here, hit tab, and then 2. Enter. So 3 by 2, and this should be 3 by 2. So I'm going to move this so it's a little more centered. Press F8 to turn off ortho. And we can check this by using our dimension. So we can see this is 3, and we can see that this is 2. So all in all, so far so good. Okay, so the next thing is we want to draw a 0.5 radius circles at the corner of the rectangle. Let's go over to our circle tool. You can click the drop down arrow to get to the center radius, and these are 0.5. Now if you don't have these squares here, you can go to this drop down menu, and this controls your snapping. So you can use these to control if you're snapping the corners and stuff like that. I think it automatically snaps the corners, but if not, it would be one of these, I think, endpoint maybe. In any case, I'll go back, circle, make sure it's a radius circle, and then we're going to click on the corner, and then we're going to put 0.5, enter, just like so. So there's two ways we can do this. We can draw a circle for each one, or we can copy. So if I click this, Control C, Control V, but if I copy, I won't be able to snap it on like I like. So I'd have to place it, select it, use the move tool, and then I want to select the center as my base point. But I cannot do so. So first thing I would have to do is kind of edge over the edge here on the circle. And you see it puts this little white plus sign in the center. And now I can snap towards the center just like that. Move it to the corner. If you're having trouble moving it, if it's stuck on these axes like this, you have ortho mode on. So you can press F8 to turn that off. Or you can click on this L shape right down here. I'm going to snap it to that corner. Another way to do it is just use the radius again. And we just click 0.5. It's all still in the construction layer, I believe. Actually, this might be on the object layer. I believe so. So we'll put that on the object layer, because I believe that's what that is. So we'll just select all of these. Just click on each one. Select this drop down up here and change it to object and click. Our circles are still selected, but when I click off, you'll notice that this setting, this object layer choice that we have, is going to go back to construction. So if I press escape, it's back to construction. So if we want to continue drawing on the object layer, we'll have to reselect it. So we're going to follow step 3. Draw horizontal lines tangent to circles. Tangent just means touching. This is upper and lower. So I believe that means that the upper line here, the lower line here. So that's what we'll do. Select back over, use the line tool, make sure we're on the object layer. And since we want to draw across, we're going to use these touch points. To have these touch points enabled, you have to have the quadrant selected. That's right here. So with quadrant snapping turned on, we'll be able to come over here and snap onto that top quadrant, bring it straight across, do the same thing. Your line tool will still be on, so you can press escape. It turns it off. We'll do the same thing on the bottom. Press escape. Simple so far. Alright, so our instructions say to draw a circle on each end, that is tan radius type of circle, and then trim the excess. If you look here, if we use our radius tool on this partial circle, we can see that the radius is 3, or the diameter is 6. So we do know that's the size we want our circle to be. Now, personally, I couldn't find the exact way to do these circles, so I might be misinterpreting that this is the circle that it wants us to do, because there's another circle here. But I'm going to assume that this is a circle it meant. So here's the workaround that I used. So back at our drawing, instead of using tan radius, I instead used a 3-point circle. So once again, you have to make sure that you do have the quadrants on. I selected this quadrant, the other quadrant, and now we have our circle here for our third point. Instead of specifying a third point, all I did is specify the diameter, which is before, as I said, was 6. So 6, just like that. Then I went to my trim tool, and I trimmed inside of the circle these small points. Press escape. I can select the rest of the circle and delete, and that's how I got it. So I'll simply do the same thing again. Use the 3-point circle. Select these quadrants here and here. Move it on the inside for a diameter of 6. Trim tool. I just need to trim enough to separate these as 2 different objects. Select the outside, press delete, and there we are. So our next step, step 5, says offset horizontal lines, step 3, inwards. So what that's telling us is these lines, they want to be offset to basically form these inside lines here. And they're offset, as we can see here, by 0.75. So we'll go back to our drawing. We will select our lines here, have them both selected. And then we'll go to our tool here, which is the offset tool. It looks like 2 C's. So I'll select the offset tool, and then I can specify the offset distance. So use 0.75. Select the object to offset. Select this one, and it moves it 0.75 this way. So we actually didn't need to select the previous two. All you have to do is you go up, you select this offset tool, then we specify the distance, 0.75, enter, select the object, and then the direction, which is straight up. Press escape to deselect the tool, and now we have our inside lines. Our next step tells us to draw the end circle on each end and trim. We're talking about these circles here, and these outer corners right here. This is another circle, and this is actually part of the same circle that we already have drawn. So it tells us to use the tan radius tool, and since we know that this circle is going to touch, aka be tangent to this circle, and it's the same on the bottom, we know that these two circles are going to be our tangent points. So we'll select these two circles as our tangent points and give it a radius of 0.56 or a diameter of 1.12. So let's do that. So we're going to use our circle tool, tan radius, and we're going to select our circles. Now if I select the circles on the outside here and then do 0.56, it's going to draw our circle on the wrong side. We want our circle to be tangent, and we do want it on this radius, but we want it on the other side, not on this side. So let's delete that, select the tool again, and make sure to select it on this side of the circle. Be careful if you're at the intersections, you might accidentally select these lines. So you want to make sure you're actually selecting the circle. Select the circle on this side, and then 0.56, enter, and now we have our circle. And this should be positioned how we want it, just like in here. So we'll do the same again, tan radius, select the inside of the circle, careful not to touch these other lines, 0.56, enter, and there we are. So now if we look back, we can see the shape taking place. We have the straight line, hits the circle, curves in, and it transfers to the other circle. So this line comes here, it's going to hit this circle, transfer over, and then come over. So we need to start doing some trimming to clean everything up. So the first thing I'm going to do is click the trim tool, and I'm going to click on these lines to remove them. So the next thing I want to do is I want to trim the insides of the circles here. Now if we look, if I press escape, if we look, there is no construction plane as part of the drawing. So we actually want to come back here and we can remove this construction plane. If we need to draw it again, we can do so by using the center of each of these circles. But we'll remove it just to make our next trimming step easier. Select the trim tool, and then we'll select these inside lines here. And misclick, reselect trim tool. Just like so. We almost have our shape. Escape, as we can see, it's taking form, but we still have the insides of these circles to get rid of as well. So what we'll do is we'll continue to trim, and this time selecting the insides, and escape. Our drawing is almost complete, but we're still missing these corner circles. Thanks to these center marking tools, we do know that they are centered as the same on this circle. We could have left our construction plane there and used that to draw these circles, so that's another option you can do, which would be quite easy. I'll be taking a different method to complete our drawing. So what I'm going to do is use the center tool, which is right here. If you don't have this on your toolbar, you can see down here it says DIM center at the very bottom of this drop down box. That's the command you can use to get this tool. So down here where it has command, if I click and type DIM, you can see all these start to come up. I have to continue to type C, E, N, and you see it's auto-completing to dim center right here. So this is what we want. Now you don't necessarily have to click down at the command tool line right here. You can simply start typing if you don't have a tool selected, but in either way it doesn't matter. So if I select this part of our circle, you can see that it has put this center mark as we want it. So I'll just use the toolbar for the rest of them. And now we have our center marks for our corners. So next I want to draw these remaining circles. And we see they have a radius of 0.25. And it says here that is a radius of 0.50, but if we measure this drawing, we can actually see that that is not correct. That is 0.25. So it's probably simply just a typo. So we're going to use 0.25 for our radius, or we would use 0.5 as our diameter. So if we use our diameter measurement and we select it, we can see this is a diameter of 0.5. So we'll go back in, we'll draw our circles once more. This time we're going to change to radius or diameter, your choice. I'll use radius. Center, you see that triangle is the midpoint. If that's not there, you'll have to go down to your snapping and make sure you have center on. So the triangle center, if I stop and hover, it'll say midpoint. I'll click, and this is going to be radius of 0.25, enter, just like so. And I can either select Control C, Control V for our next circle. I'll have to place it, select it, click the move tool, mouse over the edge of the circle to show the center, and then select the center, which would be a circle. And now I can put it onto the center, which will be a triangle. Or, easier, I can simply go back, select, and just draw these each individually. So we now have the circles, and our drawing is pretty much complete. So I'm going to get rid of these center lines. Delete, press escape, make sure I don't have anything selected. But one thing I'm noticing about our drawing is in our earlier step where we use the 3-point circle to draw these lines, you can see it actually creates a divot here. And we do not want that divot. We want a smooth line, as we can see here. Very smooth. So let's try and fix that. So the first thing I'm going to do is select, and I'm going to simply just delete these. So next we're going to go back to our circle tool. We're going to choose what we should have chosen, I suppose, is the tan radius. Select that. So if we have to specify a point on the first object, we're going to choose this curve here. And our second tangent, this curve here. And then our radius, we know from measuring our drawing is supposed to be a radius of 3. Enter. And as you can see, it has drawn our circle like we want. We can select our trim tool, get rid of these points here. And then we can also trim here to get rid of the rest of it. Escape. We can see it's much cleaner now. Do the same. Select. Now one problem you might have, I'll try to recreate this problem, is we'll select, and I'll have my mouse out to the right, use 3. Well, for some of you, it might actually draw the circle facing out the wrong way. So you might select, I'm not able to recreate this problem. I did have it happen to me before. But basically what it is it is placing the circle but it's placing it kind of out here. It's like this. So if you mess around with it, it'll eventually get it to place on the inside. It might give you a third option to let you choose a direction, but sometimes it will not. Very strange tool. 3, enter. Seems like mine is working fine. So hopefully you'll be able to solve that issue if you're having that problem. So we'll trim these. And we'll trim these very small lines here. Escape. Trim these sneaky guys down here. Delete, select, delete. And there we go. It is pretty much complete, our gasket here. So all we have left now is to measure everything. Control S to make sure it's saved. Be sure not to overwrite your title block. And now let's see how we want to measure this. So first I'll get rid of all of the measurements I have placed. And we can see the measurements that are left. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different measurements. Anything with these 4 times or 2 times, these kinds of things, we'll have to manually put in. But it seems our measurement is going to be decimal 2. We know that because there's 2 spaces after the decimal. And they're all aligned horizontally. So they don't go with the dimension line, but rather all stay horizontal. So, let's go back, make sure we change over to the dimension layer. And then we're going to go into Format, Dimension Style. I already have mine set up, but I'll go through it. So if I modify decimal 2, I want to make sure our text style is the 0.10. That is the text size. So if I go to Format, Text Style, you can see the 0.1 over here at the height is 0.1. And the font name is Romand, R-O-M-A-N-D. So make sure you have that set up. Remember, the 0.125 is only for the title down here. Everything else is 0.1. So if we go to Format, Dimension Style, for our decimal 2, we'll make sure we have the text style as 0.1. Everything else we can kind of leave. And the text placement. So if we look over here in our display, we can see it is aligned with the dimension line. So down here at text alignment, we want to change it to horizontal. So that's the main setting that we want. Everything else can probably be left as is. You go to primary units. You want to make sure you're using decimal as a unit format. The precision, you're going to have 2 zeros afterwards, 0.00. And you're also going to have down here decimal degrees and also a precision of 2 zeros. Press OK. Decimal 2, set current, close. Now we can start to measure. So the first thing we'll do is we need center marks on these, but the way we'll get our center marks is actually using the dimension tool. But you'll notice that if I do the center, I think these are all in radius. So if I do the radius of this circle here, radius, dimension, click, over, you'll notice that my center mark is not the same as this one. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to go to back to our Format, Dimension Style, decimal 2, modify. And when we go to symbols and arrows, here at center marks, it'll have mark and you'll have line. I want to select line. Press OK. Close. Now we see this added these lines here. So we have that set, but you notice that these center marks are on the center mark layer, not on the dimension layer. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to select my dimension tool, and I will have to go over to this tool here, which is a little box called Explode. What this will do is this will separate everything into individual parts. So I click Explode, and then now everything is individual, including these lines, the text, everything else. So now I can select all of my center marks here, and I can move them to the center layer. Press escape, and it'll move me directly back to dimension, which is what I want. This also allows me to put in this 4x. So now I can go to this, I can left click to select it, right click, and then do text edit. I can type 4x, which just means that there are 4 of these circles. Press space. If I press enter, that will happen because this is an text. So I want to make sure instead that I click out, and then I can reposition it if you would like. You see it's overlapping this line here. So we'll select it, click the move tool. Base point doesn't really matter because we're just moving it over. And there we are. So we have that dimension. So for the rest of these, we actually will have to put in a center mark because this tool, the dimension tool, is not measuring that. So we'll go back over. We'll use our dim center again. You can either select this button or you can type DIMCE, see dim center, enter, and then we can choose this, but you notice that we're on the wrong layer. So I will Control Z to undo, go back to the center layer, DIMC, dim center this one, and then I can do the same thing again. Now they're all selected. So I guess the next dimension we can do is this up and down line here. Dimension, select, select. Once again, you see I'm on the wrong layer. So I'll select, change this to dimension. Escape, when I press escape, it'll change back. So I have to make sure to come up here and do dimension. We can get the 3 here on the bottom. So what I'm going to do here is I want to select the center. And just like that, which is fine. Next, we'll do the 2s on the left. Center of the circle, center of the circle. Well, looks like I misclicked there. Just like that. You notice these are aligned horizontally, so they're facing the way that we want. And then we have the center of this outside circle here is actually way over here. That's what this is right here. That's the center of this circle. See the dot? So we want to draw the radius of this. So we will do radius here. We'll click and we'll move it. You see the little plus sign right here of this circle, right? So we'll move it towards this, like this, and click. And we can see there's another line here. And so with that line, I believe it's actually in this one, it's in the settings to center it within that line. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'll select this. Actually, I'll put a center mark on this one, like so. There it is. Do a line from that towards that 3. Click escape, and then delete the center marks. We notice it's 2x R3. So if I select this without exploding it, I won't be able to specifically change the text, I don't think. Doesn't seem that way. So I'll select it, explode it, and then I can select the text individually. Right click, text edit, and then I believe this was it 2 times? 2x above like that? Yes, 2 times, which is pretty much the same thing. And then this right here is for this circle here. If I click, you can see the dot square right there. So this will be the same thing going outwards. And so we will radius this line. We'll bring it out here. Explode. And you see these are just the center marks. So I'll select these and delete. And I'll put this on the center. It's like that. And we want to specify that it's not this one, rather it's this one. So I'll actually select this again and do a center mark. Just like that. Delete the lines. And this plus sign here we'll put on the center layer, like so. So now we see that this is specifying this one. And we want this to specify the other one. So we'll do a line from this center to this connection. Just like that. So now I'll do the same thing here. And this is measuring this outside circle, not this inside circle. So this kind of format seems to be specifying which circle when you have multiple circles, or it might be confusing. So go back in, and we're doing this circle here, radius, select this, have it out, and then we want to do a line. Like so. It seems we'll have to reverse these triangles, the pointers. So I'll select, explode. Now you wouldn't have to do all this exploding if you went back to your format and turned off the lines. I'm simply not doing that just in case it messes with the current center marks I have with these. This will be 2x and 4x. Text edit. 2x. Escape. Yes. Save changes. Might have to move it a little bit. And same thing with this. Text edit. 4x. Select. Move. So we still have these arrows, and we want them facing the other direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror on this intersection, and I'm going to do it just like that. Erase the source object. I'll do this again. Select triangle. Select mirror, select the center, rotate it to a lock, so I'm perpendicular, erase source object. So now I have to select this line and then click and drag to that center point, and I'll have to do the same over here. Okay, so let's make sure this is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 measurements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 measurements. 2x, 4x, 2x, 4x, 2x, 4x, 2x, 4x. We have all our measurements there. This line's a little crooked, so I'll adjust it up a little bit. And I believe that is our drawing complete. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. Hopefully this was helpful. I personally made some mistakes as we were doing it, but that means we learned something, right? All right, thank you very much.